It came from. It came from.
It came from. Yes, this is where we search all over the internet to bring you topics the internet is talking about, the community, the human factors community is talking about. Really, any topic is fair game as long as we have something to really talk about here on the show. We're going to start with this first one here from Jessica Perlman on the user experience subreddit. This is constantly feeling overwhelmed with work. I have been in the industry for a few years now, and I still find myself overwhelmed with complexity and not knowing what to do next. I don't have this problem with more bounded and constrained projects where the problem and the outcome is more or less clear, but I can't seem to graduate to the next level where I can comfortably tackle complex, vague, and interrelated problems, which comprises most of my projects. What are some strategies and tips that I can use to manage this feeling and get shit done? Aaron, how do you get shit done?
Well, so the first thing I would recommend to this person is, like, do you have a mentor in the field? Because if not, you need one. I mentioned earlier in the pre-show, I think that Elise, who's been on the show a few times, is one of my mentors. And then I have a couple more people that I lean on at work. And like just kind of level setting with them and letting them know that you want to graduate and get to that level can sometimes ease a lot of worry and anxiety you might have over this, and just let you know that that's normal. Like, you can't become an expert in your field in a couple years. It takes time. You don't know what you don't know, and it's okay to keep learning. And like one of my more senior mentors was just telling me the other day that like she's just finally getting to the point in her career that she's starting to really feel like she kind of knows what she's doing. And she told me, like, fake it till you make it. Just be confident and go for it. And I think there's something to that, right? I had a really tough project this week that I was working on, and I confessed to the person I was working with that, like, I'm sorry, I'm not sure that I know what's going on. I'm trying my best. Like, here's what I came up with. And they were like, we all feel that way. You did a great job. And I was like, oh, okay. I had no idea. So talking about it is the first step, because we're just in one of those fields where problems are really complex. And I mean, we're expected as human factors engineers and human factors professionals, applied cognitive scientists, to learn about somebody else's career in, like, days, weeks, months. And become experts in it, and then explain it to other people to explain where the shortfalls are and what they need. And so, I think it's normal to feel that way, is my point. Nick, anything to add?
Yeah, I do. I think your first point about talking and communicating is pretty key here. And I think a lot of this can stem from understanding the problem space. Understanding what your role is on a project specifically. You're talking, this person here is talking about complex, vague, interrelated problems. And to that, I would say, well, get clarification on what the problem statement is. What is it that you're trying to do? Ask questions until you know exactly what you need to do. Ask questions of the people, not only the users, but ask questions of the people who are writing things like the requirements. What do they have in mind for this thing? Ask questions of the people who are commissioning the work, the clients, right? Are you in-house with a large tech company and you have a product manager that you can talk to and bounce ideas off of until you get some clarification? Or are you working as a contractor for somebody else, like, that you can just ask and get clarification on what they're looking for? A lot of this communication can help narrow down the scope when something seems like it's a big problem to tackle. And it can be a huge problem to tackle. But if you break it down into chunks, manageable chunks that are all interrelated, see what I did there, then I think it becomes less vague. And, the complexity might not go away, but you'll also have a better idea of how to tackle it. I think there's also the organization bit, right, of laying out the problem space of all the things that you need to do or that needs to be done for a product, and kind of manage it through some task tracking software, right? You can use that as a tool, or just write it all out on a whiteboard and cross it off. There are many ways that you can track work. But I feel like complex problems need to be broken down into these buckets of work, so that way you can tackle one chunk at a time. And that way, if you're tackling one chunk at a time, it becomes less and less of a sort of insurmountable task and becomes more of like chunks of work, right? This is what the whole agile framework is kind of based off of, is breaking down one big chunk of work into smaller chunks that you can do in like little bits and pieces. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. I know projects can seem like really, really intimidating when you come into them, and they're just so big. Like, where do you start, right? I mean, I've definitely had that moment where I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be this is going to be something. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this one, Aaron, before we move on?
Um, and just, I don't know, find your inner confidence too. And I know that's easier said than done, but like, even if it doesn't feel like it, you're probably doing good work. Um, and so just kind of find comfort in that and those small wins too. Like, it's okay if you don't know everything.
Yeah. So to recap, ask questions, find a mentor, break things down into chunks, and find your confidence.